Morning Dish.
He's the hardest working man in show business. His band's music takes you into the midnight hours. And when you wake up, his voice is back on your radio alarm clock. How on earth did this happen?
Well, Jeff saw me taking out the trash at the radio station.
And he won another award.
But this one is better.
I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am.
It's the Morning Dish with the 2019 Radio Personality of the Year winner, Stephen Phillips.
You paying attention to this, Packy?
And Murphy's own Sherry Raines.
Yeah, you must have given horseback passes to the right guy, Stephen.
Well, giddy up.
And Packy Smith's Shetland pony is right alongside.
You guys know these demo tapes don't just edit themselves together, right?
Well, all right.
3 cheers for Stephen Phillips.
Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen Phillips.
All right, folks, we're back with you. We got Rick Young from Kentucky Headhunters, not to mention all the other stuff he's got going on. How are you, sir?
Well, Steve, right now we're kind of peeking out the windows and looking around. It's we got down here in southern Kentucky, we got a huge ice storm, and then it didn't so far. There hadn't been a lot of lines down things, but the with this ice was that kind of like little pellets of sleet, and then of course it snowed on top of that. But I was just, as I was telling you earlier, it's about noon here, and I'm gonna try to see if I can get out on the road and get down to feed the cattle and do things on the farm to help my brother ferrying. So, but other than that, we're all doing good, man. We're supposed to be in the studio right now, but the snow and the ice seems to be hampering that. We're in the process of doing a new Headhunter album.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Seems like every time I talk to you, you're either hunting or you're in the studio, so you're staying busy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I stay pretty busy, and then of course my son has a rock band, Blackstone Cherry, and I help them on behind the scenes on things, and then I've got the new band that I've managed and produced called the Georgia Thunderbolts, and people need to, if they're not familiar with them two bands, they really need to check them out.
Now, I'm familiar with you boys there at Blackstone Cherry, very familiar with them, but I'm not the new group you've got coming out there. Are they from Georgia?
They're from Rome, Georgia.
Right.
And I'll tell you, Steve, what happened, we played a show down there about 3 years ago. I think it was in Hiawassee, Georgia.
That's here. That's where I'm at now.
Are you down there now?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't even know. I saw that 706 area code. Listen, they maybe it might have been another town, but they opened for us. Mm-hmm. And I was in the back of our tour bus and had the window kind of open. I was working on a computer and phones, and this band kicked in, and I said, well, we better turn the steam up a little tonight. Them boys are pretty good. And then this singer opened his mouth, and I said, good Lord. Yeah. So I ran outside and got me a chair and sat on the side of the stage and watched them. And, Steve, in all honesty, I've seen a lot of bands play over the past 52 years, but this band, I didn't think I'd ever find anybody that I would want to help after I helped my son's band, John Fred's band, get started. Because it's just so much going on, and I had to do it. I mean, I'm just a glutton for punishment, I guess, but I brought them up here to Kentucky and took them in our studio and cut an album on them, and we put it out independently, and it caused such a ruckus, we wound up getting them a major record deal worldwide with it. So,
that's good.
About the time we was getting ready to release their album in last March, this COVID mess hit.
Oh.
And so we went ahead and put an EP out, and it's doing extremely well, getting a lot of streams. I wish they could play more. They've got offers to play in England and Scotland and Germany, everywhere besides the U.S. and Canada. And we just have to bide our time, just like Headhunters. I think I was telling you the last time we spoke is last year in 2020, we had 78 shows booked that we handpicked to do and ones we wanted to do. And anyway, by the time it got to October of last year, we had moved or canceled 70 of those shows.
Yeah.
We wound up playing 8 shows, and, we were very fortunate we got to play them. And but we've got about 40 of the big ones. Like you got these big outdoor festivals up north and the Midwest, and it has like maybe they'll have like us and Chris Stapleton or Eric Church or 2 or 3, bigger bands,
right.
and then every day they have that, and they have like 40,000 people at those things, and they just couldn't afford to have them, but they have moved all of them to this coming year. So naturally, our fingers are crossed. We get to go play. I was about to. When we went in the studio, the only fear I had the songs that I had in mind that we'd been writing on.
Right.
But my biggest fear was lost my calluses on my fingers to play. So there's a bunch of other stuff going on.
Sheesh.
But anyway, the good Lord willing, we'll all get back at it sometime this year and get back to some normalcy, I hope.
I'm hoping so. I talked to Paul Thorne, and he said he'd read a thing where 50% of the venues had actually went out of business because of this COVID stuff.
Yeah, it's really sad, man. I saw where down in Nashville they had a hamburger joint. It's been Raleigh's or something like that. Been there 75 years in the family, and they shut it down. Just legendary family places, man. It just couldn't hold on.
Yep.
And, I tell you, I just don't mind telling you, me and Fred's got 100 head of beef cattle, and we've sold a few calves along, but if it wasn't for the Headhunters, the past albums, we've done 14 albums. If we didn't have our royalties coming in on that a little bit, I don't know what in the world we'd have done.
And they're getting slim now with all these people stealing stuff and going on.
Yeah, well, the streaming has been a setback. But, the oddest thing about it is, I wouldn't fly for 34 years. And so we finally, my son, they're so big over there in Europe, they just kept saying, Daddy, y'all got to get over there. Y'all got a whole nother life waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be just like brand new. And I thought, I can't get on no airplane. I don't feel like going over there. And I always wanted to. All my life dreamed of going to England and London and playing and, Scotland and all those places. And so we lost our dad about 3 years ago, and he was 93, and he was a school teacher here in the county, Metcalfe County, for 39 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he could talk fluently on any subject in history or English or anything about geography and world affairs. But, a guy, he never went more than 500 miles from home.
Right.
And so I said, I'm going to suck it up and get on a plane and go see some of these things Daddy talked about.
There you go. Now you talking.
And when I got over there, I loved it the first time. Actually, the first time. It's like one of those things, Steve. Sometimes people want you to do something, and you want to help them, but you just don't right that not at that moment. So you'll go ahead and say, "Yeah, I'll do it," and thinking that it'll go away. And so I told them, I said, all right, you see if you can find some shows, and we'll get on the plane and go over there. And so the very first thing, 2 weeks later, they called me and said, Daddy, you ain't going to believe it. We got y'all a good show lined up. And I said, where at? And they said, in Sweden. And I said, now, wait a minute. I didn't say anything about going to Sweden now. Yeah. And but as it worked out, we went, and I made it fine. And all the boys in the band was watching me the whole time on takeoff, like I was going to freak out. And but anyway, we got over there, and we were very fortunate. We played a big rock festival called Sweden Rocks.
Right. And
we felt like that we was right at home when we got there because it was sponsored by John Deere Tractors. I didn't realize John Deere is based out over there.
Right.
So, but anyway, we were very lucky that we played the same day as the rock band Queen played.
Oh, wow.
So we got to play 2 bands before them, about 5:30 in the evening, 5, something like that. And all these great bands we grew up listening to, and we stayed in this lodge out in the woods. It looked like a cruise ship in the woods.
Right.
And, you've seen them old movies from Europe when they're driving down all them pine trees and things. And it was just wonderful. We got to meet a lot of our rock heroes we grew up with. And of course, that day, being Queen was there, there was more than a gob of people. So they were already there when we played. So they were from all the Scandinavian countries. So we had Sweden, Norway, Holland, Denmark. We got to hit them in one swoop, and they loved it. And so then I got on the plane to come home, And I thought, well, I'll get home from this and I won't have to go anymore.
Yeah.
And they called me in the airport in Denmark and said, Daddy, you ain't gonna believe it. We got you opening for us at the Ramming Man Fair in London. And I'm like, oh God, am I gonna have to do this again? So I said, if we're gonna go over there, then let's just go ahead and book a bunch of shows and go over there and play all over the UK.
Right.
So we booked stuff in Scotland and all over England and what have you. And we did 8 straight shows in a row. And, you know, if somebody told me that we could have done that at their age, I would have laughed them out of the room. But I felt pretty proud of ourselves, you know, going over there and toughing it like that. And, of course, the crowds were great. They all came out to see the Headhunters.
Well, y'all got y'all got a real upbeat, great show that y'all put on, so that helps.
No, well, it doesn't hurt anything. You can't be lazy these days.
Nope.
You know, never could really. I mean, you got to turn on. Needless to say, we don't hop and skip as much as we used to when we were younger. But the music's still very powerful, and that's something I found, Steve, as the years go by. Is even though we're older now, we play better as a band today than we did.
Right.
Say in the 70s.
Right.
And well, it's pretty darn good back then. I mean, we you know, of course, we had opportunities with a lot of rock labels with Capricorn, and of course, they went belly up when the Skinnerd crashed. We just came home from Atlanta. We was living down there. Well, actually, we lived in Marietta, Georgia, for 3 months. That's the only time we've ever lived anywhere else in our life. And
Right.
They brought us down there, and then, of course, Capricorn closed, and so that opportunity went away, and we came home and kind of licked our wounds, and then we met some of Led Zeppelin's people that ran their record company, Swan Song, saw us, and started grooming us to be on the Swan Song Records, which was, you know, for a bunch of little old boys in Kentucky, that to be able to get signed to something like that was almost like a dream.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, let me ask you a
surreal
question.
Almost, yeah. And then right when we was making demos for them to listen to and everything, John Bonham, their drummer, passed away, so that dissolved that. And somehow or another, if somebody told me when in the 70s or even the early 80s that we were going to put an album out in country music and it was going to do well, I'd have laughed them out of the room.
Right.
And it just, you know, the time was right for that first album when it came out. There was a small window of opportunity there where you had acts like Dwight Yoakam and Steve Earle, Lyle Lovett, K.D. Lang, and even Hank Jr. was starting to, you know, play some John Lee Hooker blues boogie at that time. So it was inevitable that some sort of jazzed up band would come along with that, and we were fortunate enough to be there at the right place and right time. And we were actually doing our own live radio show. We kind of had our rears kicked enough with record companies falling away, so we decided we'd just make our own path, and we started doing a radio show off I-65 and the old WLOC radio station. We'd go on every Tuesday night,
right.
And the word got back to Nashville about us, and there was just a lot of things going on too. You know, you had bands like the Georgia Satellites. You know,
oh, yeah.
They had a song called "Keep Your Hands to Yourself," and it was playing on country and rock radio.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just a lot of windows opened up at that time that required, or people were dying for, you know, some rock and music and country music, and we just happened to have the right package.
Well, let me ask something about the package. You know, we just got a couple of minutes left here, but let me ask you a question. When is the new album going to be out? I'm dying to hear it.
Well, we've spoken with, you know, I can't say who it is, but we've been offered from our touring. We went over 3 years, of course, and every time we'd play London, this record company would come out to see us, and they have offices in America, North America too. And right now is we're probably looking, if we can get in the studio, if it quit snowing sometime around September, 1st of September.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get you back on when that starts coming out, and we're gonna get more information on that. But anyway, I know you got a lot going on, and I sure do appreciate you calling in. Now, you got tell us again about this new band. What's the name of the new band you're working with?
The Georgia Thunderbolts. They're right down the road from y'all in Rome, Georgia.
All right. And
I'm very, very proud of them. They've done without even getting to tour more than 3 or 4 shows. They've done over 500,000 streams already of their EP we put out.
And then you got your boy that's got his band. That's Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah, they've got a new album came out in October, and they're in the top 10 in America and in Europe on the rock charts. So a lot of good things going on. If we could just go play somewhere.
There you go. Well, listen, man, I'm going to have to get off. I got a commercial coming up. But we will keep our eyes on the new album coming out and all the other stuff that you got going on. And
you watch them Thunderbolt boys. They're good.
All right, man. Well, listen.
Check them out. Hey, listen, Steve, thanks for having me on. And I could have talked an hour, but I know you just got 15 minutes. So call me back anytime. We'll try to do another little chat.
All right, man. You take care.
Bye, baby.
All right.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening. This is Stephen Phillips, host of The Morning Dish. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have a lot more interviews out there to listen to. Plus, you can listen online every morning at WJULradio.com or Lake 97.7 WJUL. And give us a like on our Facebook page, The Morning Dish.